Hey, Dr. G here. I want to talk to you about the new cholesterol treatment guidelines that were issued back in November of 2013 by the American College of Cardiology and the American Heart Association. The reason I want to revisit this for a few minutes is based on a newly published paper in the March issue of the New England Journal of Medicine, and that's in 2014. Now, this article tells us what the effect of the new guidelines will have on who's treated with statin drugs. Now, what this article tells us is the new guidelines are really an assault on the old. By that I mean, if doctors follow the new guidelines, then almost 88% of old geezer men, that's age 60 to 75, will be placed on statins, and that includes me. Now, you women out there, you don't have to feel left out. The prior guidelines had 21% of American women taking statin drugs. The new guidelines more than double that, up to 54% of American women. So overall, the new guidelines will put about 13 million more Americans on statin drugs. And let me tell you something, doctors cannot easily ignore these recommendations as they become the parameters of quality of care. In other words, if a doctor doesn't follow these guidelines, he or she can be punished financially by the insurance companies and the government, and be labeled a bad doctor. The lead investigator of this last study was quoted as saying, "The take-home message here is that every male over 60 should be on statins, and about every other female." I don't think that's a good idea, to have every old man and half of old women on a statin drug. Now remember, you may recall, I told you about a randomized, placebo-controlled study that was published in the Archives of Internal Medicine in 2011. This study showed that these drugs cause fatigue, even in a low dose. Now, this is just what our senior citizen population needs, to lower the energy of every male and every other woman out there. Now, I'm not saying there might not be some benefits to this. I'm sure the jogging paths and hiking trails won't be so crowded in the mornings. But I also ask you, do you want a generation of grumpy old men and grumpy old women out there? Now, in my view, the cholesterol drug is not addressing the root cause of heart disease or strokes. Statins are basically a poison, and I find it's very difficult to poison your way to health. Now, the statin drug deactivates an enzyme in the body that's critical for optimal health. And this is so typical of mainstream medicine, where the drug company isolates an enzyme and one of its many functions and then disables it with the drug. Now, if we thought of our body as a complex system, we would be really wary of disabling one of its critical components. I mean, if you do that, you're probably going to have a negative impact on the system as a whole. Now, all of the statin drugs are an enzyme monkey wrench that disables HMG-CoA reductase, a critical enzyme in the mevalonate pathway. This decreases the production of mevalonic acid, which eventually leads to a decrease in the production of cholesterol. And that's what these doctors want. Get that cholesterol lower and lower and lower. So without systems thinking, you might overlook the fact that impairing such a critical pathway will have multiple adverse effects on our physiology. Now, I know cholesterol has been made out to be an evil molecule, but it's critically important for many aspects of cell structure, physiology, and particularly brain functioning. Cholesterol is important in the formation of memory. The mevalonate pathway also leads to coenzyme Q10 production, which is critically important for the structural integrity of cells, antioxidant action, especially in the mitochondria, and for energy production, which is critical for life itself. The mevalonate pathway blockade also leads to the reduction in dolichols. Now, dolichols are critical to the formation of glycoproteins that are used in the manufacture of neuropeptides. And also they're used for cell identification, cell messaging, and immune defense. In other words, they affect just about every cellular process you can think of, including our mood. Could this be one of the causes for a depression epidemic? Now, blockade of the mevalonate pathway also causes the increase of tau protein synthesis, which is thought to play a role in many neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson's, ALS, MS. Blocking this pathway also results in the decrease of selenoproteins, and these have multiple functions. Blockade of this pathway also leads to the reduction in nuclear factor kappa beta. NF-κB, and this is a stimulator of our immune system. Now, this is probably part of the reason that the statin drugs do decrease the incidence of heart attacks. And I believe it's through this immune modulating and anti-inflammatory properties that are partly due to the reduction of NF-κB. But having millions of people on statin medications could lead to the reemergence of infectious diseases like we're seeing happening, or the increased incidence of all kinds of cancer. You see, NF-κB is involved in all that. So inhibiting the production of a factor that's there for a reason will have collateral damage. In my view, heart risk and inflammation can almost always be controlled by addressing the root causes instead of resorting to taking poisons. The most surefire way I have found to do this is to do a holistic program of nutrition, detoxification, and deprogramming. Now, if you're my age or older, especially if you're a male, be looking for your doctor or nurse practitioner to write you a prescription for statin drugs, if she hasn't already. Now, they may not want to, but they'll have no choice if they want to appear to be a quality healthcare provider in the eyes of the government and the health insurance companies. This is Dr. G. Thanks for watching.